My name is Scarlett Hayes and I'm 35 years old. If there's one memory from last month that still twists my heart like a knife, it's the look on my daughter's face as the hours dragged by on her 9th birthday. Mia, my sweet, thoughtful little girl, had been counting down to that day for weeks. She picked out her outfit days in advance, a purple princess dress dotted with silver stars, and she helped me decorate the apartment with streamers and balloons. Everything was ready. The cake, the games, the little gift bags lined up neatly by the door. Welcome to RevengeAmy channel. Your support is what keeps us going and allows us to continue telling inspiring stories of justice, healing, and self-worth. Help our channel reach our first 1,000 subscribers by liking and subscribing. Now let's get back to the story. At 2 o'clock, we stood waiting by the entrance, Mia's curls bouncing with every step as she kept peeking down the hall. By 3 o'clock, the smile had faded just slightly. By 4, her eyes began to glisten with unasked questions. By 5, she curled into my arms, her tiara slipping sideways on her head, sobbing quietly as the untouched cake sat on the table behind us. Not a single guest had shown up. I tried to soothe her, whispering promises that there must have been some mistake, that surely someone would still come. But deep down, I felt the chill of realization settle in. What kind of cruelty could lead to a child being abandoned like this on her birthday? And worse, what if that cruelty had come from within my own family? I never imagined my younger sister could be capable of such malice, nor that my own parents would blindly take her side when the truth came to light. But that's exactly what happened. Before I dive into the heartbreak of that day, let me go back and give you the full picture. Being a single mom was never part of my plan. When I married Ethan Cole 12 years ago, I pictured a lifetime together. Raising kids, celebrating milestones, building a home filled with love and laughter. For a while it seemed possible. But reality doesn't always match our hopes. When Mia was just 3 years old, Ethan walked out. He said he wasn't cut out for family life, that the responsibility weighed too heavily on him. At first, he called now and then, sometimes showing up on a weekend. But his visits grew fewer and farther between until, 2 years ago, they stopped completely. No birthday calls, no Christmas cards, no support. Just silence. Since then, it's been Mia and me against the world. I work as a senior graphic designer at a downtown marketing agency. The pay isn't extravagant, but it's steady enough for us to live comfortably in our modest 2-bedroom apartment. My boss knows my situation and allows me to work from home whenever Mia is sick or has a school function. That flexibility is a blessing because I've never been able to count on family support. And that brings me to my sister, Chloe Rivers. She's 5 years younger than me, what my parents used to call their surprise baby. From the moment Chloe came home from the hospital, everything changed. I went from being praised and noticed to being told constantly to watch out for my little sister, to give her extra help, to step aside when she wanted the spotlight. When I did well in school, the congratulations were quickly followed by, "Now help Chloe with hers." When I finished a science project, I was told to be careful not to overshadow Chloe. I still loved her fiercely in those early years. I remember singing to her when she was colicky, teaching her to tie her shoes, defending her from bullies in the neighborhood. But as we grew older, Chloe learned how to use our parents' favoritism like a weapon. In high school, she borrowed my prom dress the night before my dance, only to return it stained and ruined. When I confronted her, our parents, Thomas and Elaine Rivers, scolded me instead. "If it was that important, Scarlett, you should have hidden it better." Later, at my college graduation party, Chloe announced her engagement right in the middle of the celebration, hijacking the entire event. The news of my scholarship and achievements was drowned out by wedding chatter. That pattern never stopped. When I landed my first big promotion, Chloe suddenly needed emergency money for a car repair. My parents called me, urging me to share my blessing with her. When I introduced them to Ethan, back when he was still in the picture, Chloe shamelessly flirted with him over dinner. My parents laughed it off, saying it was adorable how comfortable she was around her future brother-in-law. Through it all, I kept telling myself that family was family. Surely Chloe would mature one day. I invited her to my wedding, made her a bridesmaid, included her in holidays, and tried again and again to build a sisterly bond. Every time, I left disappointed that my parents never seemed to notice or care about the favoritism. Dad, Thomas, was a retired English teacher who spent his days golfing or working endlessly on a novel that never seemed to progress. Mom, Elaine, was the powerhouse, a successful real estate agent whose personality dominated every room she entered. They gave us a comfortable middle-class life, yes, but equal treatment? Never. Chloe is more sensitive, Mom would say. She needs extra attention. Scarlett is independent, Dad would add. She doesn't need us hovering over her. Those lines became the justification for every slight, every moment of unfairness. Chloe got more gifts, more praise, more forgiveness, and more defense when we clashed. I learned early on that in any dispute, my parents would side with her, so I built my resilience. I pushed myself harder in school, in work, in life, determined to succeed on my own merits. When Mia was born, I thought things might change. Surely my parents would soften as grandparents. And at times they did show up, sending gifts, babysitting occasionally, making the right noises about how beautiful and smart Mia was. But Chloe always remained the priority. If she needed something during a planned visit with Mia, the visit was canceled. If she showed up unexpectedly at a family dinner, all eyes shifted to her drama. Even when Mia should have had her own moment, Chloe's son Noah, born 3 years ago, quickly took center stage as the favored grandchild. Through all of this, Mia and I created our own little world. She's an extraordinary child, bright, creative, thoughtful. She inherited my dark curly hair and Ethan's piercing blue eyes. She loves reading, painting, and lately soccer. She's a bit shy with new people but fiercely loyal to her friends. I've worked hard to make sure our home is filled with so much love that she never feels the absence of her father or the conditional affection of her grandparents. We have our traditions. Friday movie nights with homemade popcorn, Sunday afternoons baking cookies, me cheering at every soccer game. Each night before bed I high-five her and say, "It's you and me, kiddo. The dream team." She always smiles, but sometimes I see a shadow in her eyes, a sadness she can't quite put into words. Children notice more than we think. They feel the absences, they recognize the favoritism, and they understand when they're an afterthought. I've tried to shield her from the worst of it. Once, after a tense Thanksgiving dinner where Chloe monopolized the evening, Mia asked me quietly, "Why doesn't Aunt Chloe like me?" My heart broke. I lied and said, "She does, honey. Some people just don't know how to show it very well." I've taught Mia about forgiveness, about giving second chances, about valuing family. I wanted her to feel connected to her roots. But as her 9th birthday approached, I would soon learn that sometimes, the family you're born into simply isn't worthy of the love you keep pouring into them. As Mia's 9th birthday approached, I threw myself into planning like it was the most important project of my life. She had endured enough moments of being overlooked by her grandparents, and she had long since stopped asking about her absent father. This year I wanted her to feel celebrated, adored, and completely surrounded by joy. At 89 years old, kids start to become so aware of themselves in social groups, who's invited, who isn't, who feels included, who gets left out. I knew Mia sometimes felt invisible at school, and I wanted her birthday to be the opposite of that. I wanted her to feel like the center of the universe, if only for one magical day. When I asked her what theme she wanted, her eyes lit up immediately. A magical castle princess party, Mom, with real magic. Her excitement was contagious. I laughed and promised to make it happen. From that moment on, Pinterest became my late-night obsession. I created boards filled with shimmering streamers that looked like waterfalls, twinkling fairy lights to drape across our ceiling, gem-colored tablecloths, and a giant castle backdrop for photos. I ordered supplies little by little with each paycheck, careful not to overload our budget. Weekends became craft days. Mia and I made magic wands out of wooden dowels, hot glue, and too much glitter. We filled recycled jars with colored water and edible sparkles to make potion bottles. One Sunday, we spent hours cutting and decorating paper crowns. I'll never forget watching her tiny fingers grip a marker as she carefully designed hand-drawn invitations. Each one was personalized for a classmate. "Do you think Ava will like her unicorn drawing?" Mia asked while coloring in the rainbow mane. "She'll love it, sweetheart. These are the most beautiful invitations I've ever seen." I told her truthfully. Her guest list had 12 classmates, some close friends and a few she hoped to get closer to. I invited her teacher, Miss Harper Lane, who had been so supportive during Mia's rough patch with math earlier in the year. I also made sure my two best friends, Olivia Brooks and Kayla Reed, were on the list. They'd practically become honorary aunts to Mia. And even though I hesitated, I invited my parents, Thomas and Elaine Rivers, along with my younger sister Chloe. Whatever my personal feelings were, I wanted Mia to feel like her family showed up for her. The menu was just as detailed. I splurged on a custom 3-tiered castle cake from a local bakery, complete with turrets, a drawbridge, and glittering sugar figurines. For savory food, I planned dragon tails, twisted breadsticks, magic wands, fruit skewers, and tiny sandwiches cut into crown shapes. On top of that, I rented a cotton candy machine and a chocolate fountain. It was over the top, but when I saw the joy in Mia's face as I described it all, it felt worth every penny to make the day even more special. I secretly booked a face painter for 2 hours. I didn't tell Mia that was going to be a surprise. I also set up games that would be fun but not overly competitive. A treasure hunt with clues hidden around our apartment courtyard, a potion-making station with safe fizzing ingredients, and finally, a princess coronation ceremony where each child would receive a personalized crown. 2 days before the big day, I confirmed with every parent. All 12 kids were coming. Ms. Lane was coming. Olivia and Kayla promised they'd arrive early to help set up. My parents sent a lukewarm text. "We'll be there unless something urgent comes up." I chose to ignore the built-in excuse and focus on the positive. The night before the party, Mia could hardly sleep. She kept getting out of bed to make sure her purple dress with silver stars was still hanging on her closet door. "Mom, do you think this will be my best birthday ever?" she asked as I tucked her in for the 3rd time. "I think it's going to be magical, Mia," I whispered, kissing her forehead. After she finally drifted off, I stayed up until nearly 2 a.m. I strung up the last of the decorations, tied ribbons around the party favors, and checked each detail. Every gift bag had a stuffed dragon, a bottle of bubbles, a princess pencil, and homemade crown-shaped cookies wrapped in cellophane. I could already picture the kids squealing with excitement when they opened them. By morning, I was up at 6 to start prepping again. The party wasn't until 2, but I wanted plenty of time to get everything perfect. By the time Mia woke up, our modest apartment had transformed into a castle. Streamers cascaded from the ceiling. Twinkling lights turned the walls into a starlit night. The table was covered in jewel-toned plates and cups. Mia gasped when she walked in. "Mom, it looks like a real castle," she squealed. Her awe made all the exhaustion worth it. We spun each other around the living room, laughing and taking goofy selfies against the castle backdrop. In that moment, everything felt right. This was going to be her day. Around noon, my phone rang. It was Chloe. "Hey sis, just letting you know I might be running a little late. I've got to pick up Noah from his playdate." "That's fine as long as you're here by 3. That's when we're cutting the cake," I replied. Of course, I wouldn't miss it for the world. Something about her tone made my stomach twist, but I brushed it off. Today wasn't about Chloe. It was about Emma. At 1 o'clock, the cake arrived. It was a masterpiece, more stunning than I had pictured. Mia's eyes widened in amazement. She hugged me so tight I could feel her heart racing. "This is the best day ever, Mom," she whispered. I smiled and squeezed her back, forcing down the uneasy feeling gnawing at me. Everything was ready. The decorations sparkled, the food was perfect, the favors were lined up. Surely nothing could go wrong. 2 o'clock arrived at last. Mia and I stood by the door, dressed and ready to welcome her guests. She wore her purple princess dress, sparkling silver shoes, and the crystal tiara I had given her as an early present. Her dark curls were styled into bouncy ringlets, her cheeks flushed with excitement. She looked like the princess she had dreamed of being. I had slipped into a simple blue dress that Mia picked out because she said it matched our castle theme. As we stood waiting, she kept bouncing on her toes, peering down the hallway every few minutes. "When will they get here?" she asked for the 10th time in 15 minutes. "Any moment, sweetheart. It's only just 2. Sometimes people run a little late." I reassured her, though I was already glancing at my phone at by 2:15. No one had arrived. Not a text, not a call. Maybe there's traffic, I suggested brightly, pulling up the news. No accidents, no weather alerts. Just a normal, sunny Saturday afternoon t 2:30. Mia's smile began to fade. She fiddled nervously with the tulle of her skirt. Should we call someone? She asked, trying to sound casual but failing to hide the worry in her voice. Good idea. Let's try Emma's mom first. She's always on time. I dialed Grace Kim, Emma's mother. She answered quickly. Hi Grace, it's Scarlett, Mia's mom. Just wondering if you're on your way. The party started at 2. There was a pause. Then her voice came, hesitant and confused. Oh, Scarlett, didn't you cancel the party? We got a text from you yesterday saying Mia came down with the flu. My blood ran cold. I what? You texted from your number, said you'd reschedule. I can even read it to you. So sorry for the last-minute change, but Mia's sick and we'll have to postpone. I'll let you know when we reschedule. It came through at 3:14 p.m. yesterday. I felt the room spin. Grace, I swear I never sent that. The party is happening right now, everything's set up, the cake, the decorations. Mia's waiting. Her gasp was audible. Oh my God. That's awful. We already made other plans. We're an hour away at her grandparents' house. Emma will be crushed when she hears. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, I managed to say, though my hands were shaking. Please tell Emma we missed her. I hung up and immediately dialed the next parent. And the next. And the next. Each conversation was the same. Every parent had received an identical text. Every single one had assumed the party was off. All of them had made other plans. None could come now. While I made call after call, Mia sat silently on the couch, her tiara tilting slightly, her little face growing paler with each minute. I tried to shield her from the conversations, but our apartment was small. She heard enough to understand. After the 6th call, her lower lip trembled. Nobody's coming, are they? She whispered as I sat beside her and pulled her into my arms. It looks like someone sent those messages pretending to be me. They told everyone the party was canceled. But this isn't your fault, honey. None of this is your fault. Her tears spilled over. But who would do that? Who would be so mean? I couldn't bring myself to say the name that had already lodged in my throat. My sister, Chloe Rivers, had both motive and opportunity. But how could I say that to my devastated daughter? Instead, I kissed her curls and held her tighter. I don't know yet, sweetheart. But I promise you we're going to find out. Mia sniffled. Can we call Grandma and Grandpa? And Aunt Chloe? Maybe they'll still come. Hope flickered in her eyes and I couldn't crush it. I picked up my phone again. First, I tried my parents, Thomas and Elaine. No answer. I tried again. Still nothing. I sent a text. Where are you? The party started half an hour ago. Minutes passed. Finally, my phone buzzed with a reply from my mother. Busy today, can't make it. Chloe said Mia told her she didn't want us to come anymore. Hope she has a good birthday anyway. I stared at the message in disbelief. My hands clenched so hard the phone nearly slipped. Not only had they not shown up, they were doubling down on a lie. Mia, who had been peeking over my shoulder, burst into fresh tears. I never said that, Mom. I wanted Grandma and Grandpa here. I wanted everybody here. I wrapped her in my arms, my own eyes burning, though I refused to let the tears fall. I know, baby. I know you never said that. This isn't on you. The two of us sat in that beautifully decorated living room, surrounded by untouched food and empty chairs. The cotton candy machine hummed quietly in the corner. The chocolate fountain bubbled, wasted. The 3-tiered castle cake, the masterpiece I'd saved up for, looked lonely sitting on the table, its sugary turrets mocking us. Nobody cares about my birthday, Mia whispered, curling into me. Nobody wants to come. That's not true, sweetheart. Your friends wanted to be here. They were excited. Someone tricked them. But I care. I care more than anything. Still, my words felt hollow in the heavy silence of the apartment. 15 chairs sat empty, favor bags lined up untouched. A banner proclaiming Happy 9th birthday Mia. Hanging like a cruel joke by 3 o'clock, then 4, then 5 the reality settled in. No one was coming. The party I had spent 2 months preparing for, her party, was over before it even began. Out of desperation I texted Olivia and Kayla, my 2 best friends. Both responded with confusion. They had received the same cancellation message. The pattern was undeniable now, this was deliberate. Someone had orchestrated every detail to make sure Mia spent her birthday feeling abandoned as the afternoon dragged on. Mia's tears eventually subsided, replaced by a quiet resignation. That was somehow worse. She took off her tiara and placed it gently on the coffee table. She kicked off her shoes and sat silently, staring at the decorations. Finally, she asked in a small, tired voice, "Mom, can I change out of my dress?" My heart cracked. "Of course, honey. But first let's take a few pictures. You look beautiful, and we worked so hard on your hair." She nodded reluctantly, standing before the castle backdrop. I snapped a few photos, each one showing her forced smile, nothing like the joy she'd had that morning. After she changed into pajamas, we curled up together on the couch, the remnants of the party surrounding us. "What do we do now?" she asked. I forced a smile, determined to salvage what I could. "Now, Princess Mia, we're having a royal feast for 2. We'll eat as much cake as we want, watch your favorite movies, and make this our own celebration." A tiny smile flickered. "Can we have ice cream too?" "We can have anything you want, sweetheart. This is still your day." As we sliced into the beautiful lonely cake, I made a silent vow. Whoever had done this would not get away with it. No one hurt my daughter, and walked away unscathed. That night, after Mia finally drifted off to sleep, I lingered in the living room surrounded by the wreckage of the party that never happened. Half-eaten slices of cake sat on plates we'd abandoned. Balloons drooped sadly against the walls. The unopened presents I'd bought for her were stacked neatly on the coffee table, waiting for a celebration that never came. I began tearing down decorations, not because I wanted to, but because I needed something physical to do with the anger that burned inside me. Each streamer ripped from the ceiling felt like a release, each fairy light unplugged like a small attempt to regain control. But the question gnawed at me with every step. Who had done this? The obvious answer was my sister, Chloe Rivers. She had a long history of sabotaging important moments in my life, stealing attention, creating drama, making sure the spotlight never stayed on me for too long. But sending fake cancellation texts to a dozen families? Using my old phone number to impersonate me? That was vicious even for her. As I folded up the castle backdrop, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Ms. Harper Lane, Mia's teacher. "Scarlett, I just got home and saw all the messages. I'm so sorry about today. I didn't check my phone until after my workshop. I feel terrible for missing Mia's party. Is there anything I can do?" I quickly typed back, "Thank you for reaching out. Mia's asleep now, but she'd love to see you at school Monday. Can I ask, did you also get a cancellation text?" Almost immediately, 3 dots appeared. Then a screenshot popped onto my screen. The message read, "Ms. Lane, unfortunately we need to cancel Mia's party tomorrow. She's come down with the flu. We'll reschedule soon. Scarlett." My stomach dropped. The number wasn't mine, but it was hauntingly familiar. It was my old number, the one I had changed 2 years ago after my divorce, wanting a fresh start free from all the ghosts tied to Ethan in that painful chapter. Who still had access to that number? I had given all my updated contact info to friends, to coworkers, to Mia's school. The only people who could have possibly still used it against me were my immediate family. "Chloe," I felt my hands tremble as I typed back, "That's not my current number. That's my old phone number from 2 years ago. Someone is using it to impersonate me." Ms. Lane replied instantly, "That's horrible. This wasn't just a prank. Have you contacted the police?" The thought had crossed my mind, but I hesitated. Would the police even take something like this seriously? Sure, it was cruel. But was it criminal? I didn't know. Not yet. I thanked her and set my phone aside, though my blood was still boiling. On impulse, I opened Facebook and started scrolling through Chloe's profile. She had been active, very active. Her latest post from just 4 hours earlier made my stomach churn. It was a smiling selfie with the caption, "Enjoying a fabulous weekend getaway at Lakeside Resort with mom and dad. Sometimes you just need to treat yourself. Hashtag family time, hashtag spa, hashtag nor egrets." In the background, I could clearly see my mother, Elaine, lounging in a chair by the pool. They were less than an hour away, sipping cocktails, while my daughter cried herself to sleep. I scrolled further. Yesterday, right around when the fake texts went out, Chloe had posted another status. "Weekend plans equals relaxation, family time, zero drama. Can't wait. Hashtag treat yourself." The timing was too perfect to be a coincidence. Chloe had orchestrated this. She sabotaged Mia's birthday and then conveniently whisked my parents away for a spa weekend so they wouldn't be available to notice or intervene. My hands shook with fury as I dialed my mother. To my surprise, she answered on the third ring. "Scarlett, it's late. Is everything okay?" she asked, her voice calm as if she hadn't just broken her granddaughter's heart. "No, Mom. Everything is not okay," I said, keeping my voice low so I wouldn't wake Mia. "Where were you today?" "We told you we had plans," she replied smoothly. "Chloe surprised us with a weekend at the resort. Did you know today was Mia's birthday party?" There was a pause. "Well, yes, but Chloe said you canceled it. She even showed us the text. She also said Mia told her she didn't want us there, which hurt us quite a bit, I must admit." I let out a bitter laugh. "Mom, Mia never said that. And she wasn't sick. The party wasn't canceled. We sat here for hours waiting for guests who never came because someone sent fake messages from my old number." "That can't be right." "It is right," I cut her off. "Mia spent her 9th birthday crying because not one friend showed up. Not her teacher, not her grandparents, not even her aunt. Do you have any idea what that did to her?" For a long moment, my mother was silent. Then cautiously she asked, "Are you suggesting Chloe lied to us?" "I'm not suggesting. I'm telling you. Chloe deliberately ruined Mia's birthday and made sure you and Dad weren't there to help pick up the pieces." "That's a very serious accusation, Scarlett," she said, her tone defensive. "Chloe wouldn't do something like that." "Wouldn't she?" I snapped. "Think about all the times she's sabotaged me. Think about how she's always had to be the center of attention. Think about how she's jealous of Mia because for once, someone else in this family got to shine." "You're overreacting." "No, Mom. What's not fair is that my daughter cried herself to sleep on her birthday because of Chloe. What's not fair is that you believed her lies without even checking with me." My mother's voice faltered, tinged with doubt for the first time. I don't know what to say." "Then don't say anything. Ask Chloe. Look her in the eye and ask if she sent those messages. And then decide if you're still going to defend her at the expense of your granddaughter." I hung up before she could respond, my heart pounding in my chest. For once, I hadn't swallowed my anger. For once, I'd stood up to her. Almost immediately, I started taking screenshots of Chloe's posts, saving them as evidence. Tomorrow I would decide what to do with them. Tonight, I needed to hold on to my resolve. Before heading to bed, I peeked into Mia's room. She was curled under her blanket, clutching her stuffed unicorn, her cheeks still puffy from crying. My chest ached at the sight, but I made myself a silent promise. This would not be the memory that defined her birthday, and as for Chloe, for once in her life she would face consequences. Sunday morning dawned bright and cheerful, a cruel contrast to the storm still raging inside me. Mia woke up quieter than usual. She tried to put on a brave face as we made chocolate chip pancakes together, but I could see the sadness still weighing on her after breakfast as she hugged her new stuffed dragon to her chest. She looked at me and asked softly, "Mom, do you think my friends really didn't want to come? Or do you think someone tricked them?" Her vulnerability made my throat tighten. I crouched down so I was eye level with her. "Honey, I know someone tricked them. I spoke to Emma's mom, to several other parents. They all got texts saying the party was canceled. Your friends wanted to be here. They care about you." Relief flickered across her face. "So they don't hate me?" "Not even close," I said firmly. "They'll be upset when they find out what happened. but they'll be extra kind to you when you see them at school. She nodded, then hesitated. Who do you think sent the messages? I didn't want to poison her against her aunt without undeniable proof. I'm not sure yet, sweetheart. But I promise you I'm going to find out. And whoever did it will owe you a very big apology. Later that afternoon my phone buzzed. It was my father, Thomas Rivers. Ava? He caught himself. Scarlett. We've been talking. I think there's been a misunderstanding. The word made my blood boil. Is that what Chloe's calling it now? A misunderstanding? She swears she didn't send any messages, Dad insisted. She says she really thought the party was canceled, which is why she planned the weekend away. And you believe her? I asked flatly. He sighed. I don't know what to believe. Your mother is upset. Chloe's upset. You're upset. Everyone has a different story. I have evidence, I snapped. Screenshots of the fake texts. Chloe's social media posts bragging about her drama-free spa weekend while Mia cried her eyes out. The timing isn't coincidence, Dad. He was silent for a long moment. Finally, he asked, What do you want us to do, Scarlett? I laughed bitterly. What do I want you to do? I want you to hold her accountable. I want her to apologize to Mia, not me, Mia, for deliberately ruining her birthday. And I want you and Mom to apologize for believing her without even checking with me first. Now that's not fair, he protested weakly. We had no reason to doubt her, except for the fact that Chloe has a lifelong history of lying and manipulating, except for the fact that it would have taken you 30 seconds to text me and confirm, except for the fact that your granddaughter's birthday apparently wasn't important enough for you to do even that. His voice cracked. We love Mia. Then act like it, I said coldly and hung up. For a few minutes I just sat there breathing hard, trying to calm the fury boiling inside me. But then I made a decision. Enough was enough. I turned to Mia. Sweetheart, put on something nice. We're going for a drive. Her eyes widened. Where? To see Grandma, Grandpa, and Aunt Chloe. We need to talk to them face to face. Will they be mad at us for coming without being invited? She asked nervously. My chest ached at how deeply she had internalized this family dynamic, that we would be the intruders, the ones at fault. I cupped her cheek gently. No, honey. They should be happy to see us. And if they're not, that's their problem, not ours. The drive to Lakeside Resort took just over an hour. Mia sat quietly, gazing out the window, while I mentally rehearsed what I wanted to say. When we pulled into the resort parking lot, I parked between a shiny BMW and a Mercedes, my modest sedan looking wildly out of place. We followed the signs to the pool area, and sure enough, there they were. My parents sitting under an umbrella with drinks in hand, Chloe lounging nearby scrolling through her phone. They looked relaxed, carefree, like people without a guilty conscience. My blood boiled as we approached. My mother looked up first. Her eyes widened. Scarlett? Mia? What are you doing here? Her surprised tone drew my father's attention. Chloe didn't even move at first, though I saw her stiffen slightly. We came to talk, I said evenly, though my anger was simmering just below the surface. This isn't really the time or place, my mother murmured, glancing around nervously at the other resort guests. When would be a better time, Mom? I asked, my voice rising. After you've finished your relaxing weekend while your granddaughter thinks her family didn't care enough to show up to her birthday? Scarlett, please, my father said, standing awkwardly. Let's not make a scene. I'm not making a scene. I'm asking for an explanation. Who sent those fake texts canceling Mia's party? Why didn't anyone check with me before believing them? And why are you all here drinking cocktails while my daughter cried herself to sleep last night? By now, other guests had started to notice. Heads were turning. Whispers spread. Finally, Chloe stood, folding her arms. Her voice was calm, too calm. I didn't send any fake messages, Scarlett. I told you. I thought the party was canceled. Then who did it, Chloe? I shot back. Who used my old phone number? Who knew exactly which families to text? Who had the guest list? Who conveniently whisked my parents away for a spa weekend so they'd be unreachable? She flushed but tried to deflect. How should I know? Maybe one of Mia's friends was pulling a prank. A 9-year-old hacked my old number, contacted 12 families, and perfectly timed it so no one would verify with me? I demanded. That's your excuse? Scarlet enough, my mother said, stepping between us. Chloe says she didn't do it. Why would she lie? Because she's been lying her entire life, I exploded. Because she can't stand anyone else getting attention. Because she's never faced a consequence for anything, thanks to you too. Mia squeezed my hand, looking up at me nervously. I forced myself to take a deep breath, but my voice stayed sharp. I have proof. Screenshots from Ms. Lane. Chloe's social media posts bragging about her drama-free weekend at the exact time the messages went out. The evidence is all there. This doesn't prove anything, Chloe said quickly, though her voice lacked conviction now. Doesn't it? I shot back. You posted about your spa weekend exactly when the fake messages were sent. You told Mom and Dad that Mia didn't want them there. A blatant lie. And now you want us all to believe it's just a coincidence. My father looked more uncomfortable by the second. My mother's eyes were darting between us, uncertainty flickering in her expression. Finally, Chloe snapped. It was just a stupid kids' party. She's 9, Scarlet. She won't even remember it in a few years. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. My parents stared at her in shock. And Mia, my sweet, sensitive Mia, looked at her aunt with wide, hurt eyes. Is that an admission? I asked quietly. Did you just admit you ruined a 9-year-old's birthday because you thought it wasn't a big deal? Chloe realized her mistake too late. She backtracked quickly. That's not what I meant. I just meant you're overreacting. I pulled out my phone and opened the photos I'd taken the day before. Mia in her princess dress, tiara slightly crooked, eyes red from crying, her smile forced. I held the phone out so they could see. This is my daughter, I said. Tell me again how I'm overreacting. For once, silence fell over Chloe. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father's shoulders sagged. Even Chloe had the decency to look away. And then in a small broken voice Mia asked, Why do you hate me, Aunt Chloe? The directness of the question pierced the tension like a knife. Chloe looked stricken. I don't hate you, Mia. It was supposed to be a joke. I didn't think it would matter. It mattered, I said firmly. It mattered more than you'll ever know. For the first time in my life, my father stepped forward, not to defend Chloe but to reprimand her. Chloe, what you did was cruel and deliberate. You owe your niece an apology. The family dynamic I'd lived with my entire life had just shifted. The air around the pool had gone completely silent. Resort guests who had been sipping cocktails or lounging on chairs now openly stared at us. I could feel their eyes burning into my back, but for once I didn't care about appearances. This wasn't about embarrassment. This was about truth. Chloe's voice cracked as she repeated. It was supposed to be a joke. I didn't think it would matter. My father, Thomas Rivers, finally shook his head. Disappointment etched into every line of his face. No, Chloe. This wasn't a joke. This was cruel. You hurt your niece deliberately, and you embarrassed your sister. Don't minimize it. The shock of hearing my father take my side nearly made me stumble. In 35 years, I could barely remember a single moment when he had confronted Chloe without excusing her behavior. Dad? Chloe started, but he cut her off sharply. Enough. For once in your life, you need to own what you've done. My mother, Elaine, tried to intervene. Frank, she began, calling him by the nickname she used when she wanted to soften him, but he turned to her with a firmness I hadn't seen in decades. No, Elaine. She admitted it. She just stood here and admitted it. Mom's lips pressed together, torn between her instinct to protect her youngest and the undeniable evidence laid out in front of her. I knelt beside Mia, who still clutched my hand tightly. See, sweetheart? It wasn't your fault. It never was. Someone made a very bad choice, but it had nothing to do with you. Mia looked up at me, then at her grandparents. But why, Grandma? Why would Aunt Chloe do that to me? Mom's eyes filled with tears. For once, she didn't have a ready excuse. Chloe, clearly floundering, muttered, I didn't want another big deal made about Scarlett. It's always her job, her kid, her. Her words hung there, ugly and raw. I stood, my voice steady. This wasn't about me, Chloe. This was about Mia. She's 9 years old. She spent her birthday thinking nobody cared about her, because you couldn't stand her having a day that wasn't about you. Do you have any idea how damaging that is? Chloe opened her mouth, but nothing came out. For once it seemed there was no excuse she could spin, no charm she could wield, no parental shield to hide behind. Dad finally turned to me. His voice was quiet but firm. Scarlett, I owe you an apology. We failed you yesterday. We failed Mia. We should have called. We should have checked. Instead, we believed what we wanted to believe, because it was easier than facing the truth about Chloe. My throat tightened. For so long I had dreamed of hearing those words, but never truly expected them. You're right, I whispered. You should have checked. 30 seconds would have changed everything. But you didn't. And now Mia's the one who paid the price. Mia tugged on my hand, her voice small but determined. Grandpa, will you come to my next party? Dad crouched down so he was eye level with her. Yes, sweetheart. I'll be there. And I promise I'll never let this happen to you again. My mother finally found her voice, though it trembled. Scarlett, I'm sorry too. I thought Chloe was telling the truth. I didn't want to believe she would do something so spiteful. But I see now that I was wrong. It was the closest thing to an admission of guilt I had ever heard from her. I nodded. Thank you for saying that. But this doesn't erase what happened. I need both of you to understand something. Protecting Chloe at the expense of everyone else stops now. If you can't respect that, then you won't be part of Mia's life. Period. The firmness in my voice startled even me. I had spent a lifetime swallowing my words, smoothing things over, sacrificing my peace for the illusion of family unity. But not anymore. Chloe looked stricken. You'd really cut us out over this? Over one mistake. I laughed bitterly. One mistake? This isn't about one mistake, Chloe. This is about years of selfishness, years of cruelty, years of sabotaging every important moment in my life. You've been shielded from consequences your whole life. But not this time. Not when it comes to my daughter. Mia pressed closer to me. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders, protective and fierce. Chloe tried again, her voice desperate now. I said I was sorry. No, you said it was a joke, I corrected. A half-hearted sorry isn't enough. Mia deserves a real apology. One that acknowledges exactly what you did and how it hurt her. Mia, with the straightforward honesty only a child could deliver, looked at her aunt and asked, Will you tell me you're sorry for making me cry on my birthday? Chloe's face crumpled. For a second I thought maybe, just maybe, she would finally understand the gravity of what she had done. I'm sorry, Mia, she whispered. I really am. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't enough. But it was the first time I had ever seen her admit fault directly. I straightened, holding Mia's hand firmly. That's a start. But actions speak louder than words. From now on, Chloe, you won't be part of Mia's life unless you prove you can be trusted. And Mom, Dad, if you choose to enable her, then you won't be either. This isn't negotiable. The silence that followed was heavy, but also freeing. For the first time, I felt the balance of power shift. Finally, I turned to Mia. Ready to go home, sweetheart? She nodded, her small hand tightening in mine. As we walked away from the pool, I felt eyes on us, some sympathetic, some shocked, but I kept my head high. For once, I wasn't the one shrinking or apologizing. The drive home was quiet, but it wasn't the same suffocating silence as the day before. This time there was relief in it. A sense that the truth had finally been spoken aloud, and there was no going back. Halfway home, Mia looked at me with wide eyes. Mom, are Grandma and Grandpa still our family? I squeezed her hand. Yes, honey. But being family isn't about never fighting. It's about showing up, telling the truth, and choosing to love each other even when it's hard. We'll see if they can do that. And Aunt Chloe? She asked softly. I glanced at her in the rearview mirror, her innocent eyes watching me. Aunt Chloe has a lot of work to do before she can be part of our family again. That's her choice. Mia nodded thoughtfully, then leaned her head against the window. I just want people who love me to be at my birthdays. Tears burned in my eyes, but I smiled. And you will, sweetheart. You will. As we pulled into our apartment complex, I felt lighter than I had in years. The confrontation at the resort had cracked something open in our family's foundation, exposing all the lies, favoritism, and neglect that had been swept under the rug for decades. Now, finally, there was room to rebuild, and this time, I would make sure the foundation was strong enough for Mia to stand on without ever doubting her worth again. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains, casting golden streaks across the floor. I brewed coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop. Sleep had been fitful, but determination fueled me now. I wasn't going to let Mia's 9th birthday be defined by tears and betrayal. I began sending messages to every parent on the original guest list. I explained the situation honestly. Someone had impersonated me and sent out fake cancellations, but Mia's birthday still deserved to be celebrated. Would they be willing to come next Saturday for a rescheduled party? Within an hour, replies poured in. We're so sorry, Scarlett. Of course we'll come. Emma cried when she found out she missed it. We'll be there with bells on. That's terrible. Count us in. We'll help however we can. Even Ms. Harper Lane, Mia's teacher, replied immediately. Absolutely. I'll help coordinate with the class families. We'll make sure Mia gets the party she deserves. I felt a weight lift off my chest. This was happening. Next, I texted my 2 closest friends, Olivia Brooks and Kayla Reed. Redoing Mia's party next weekend. Need all hands on deck. Olivia replied first. Yes. I'll bring decorations and cupcakes. Kayla chimed in seconds later. I'll handle games and prizes. We'll make it epic. I smiled for the first time in days. This was what true family looked like, the people who showed up without hesitation. That evening I sat Mia down. She was sketching in her new art pad, coloring a castle with glittery crayons. Honey, I said gently, how would you feel about having another birthday party? A do-over. Next Saturday. Her head snapped up, eyes wide. Really? Everyone would come. Everyone. I already talked to the parents. They're so excited to celebrate you. And Grandpa asked if he could come too. She hesitated. What about Grandma and Aunt Chloe? I chose my words carefully. Grandma might come, if she's ready to do the right thing. Aunt Chloe won't be there this time. She needs to think about her choices. Mia considered this, then nodded. That's okay. I just want people who love me to come. Tears pricked at my eyes, but I pulled her into a hug. And that's exactly what's going to happen. The week leading up to the do-over party was a whirlwind. On Tuesday, Olivia came over with boxes of decorations she picked up. Shimmering balloons, a giant castle backdrop, and a Princess Mia banner custom printed at a local shop. This time no half measures, she declared, dumping the supplies onto my couch. Kayla arrived with a bag full of party favors, sparkly crowns, light-up wands, and bags of candy. We're turning your apartment into Disney World, she said, grinning. Mia squealed with delight, bouncing from box to box, inspecting everything. For the first time since the disastrous Saturday, her excitement returned. On Wednesday, I received a text from my father. Your mom and I would like to come Saturday. I know things are tense, but we want to be there for Mia. Please let us know if it's okay. I stared at the screen, conflicted. Part of me wanted to say no, to protect Mia from further disappointment. But another part knew this was an opportunity. A chance for them to show they were serious about making amends. I replied. You're welcome to come. But Chloe isn't. And if you come, it's about Mia, not defending her. Dad responded simply. Understood. Saturday arrived bright and clear. I woke early to finish preparations, heart pounding with anticipation. The smell of frosting filled the air as Olivia and Kayla set up the dessert table. Mia twirled around in her freshly cleaned princess dress, the tiara gleaming on her head. At exactly 2 o'clock, the doorbell rang. This time, cars lined the street. Children poured into our apartment, their arms full of gifts. their voices bubbling with laughter. Mia's eyes sparkled as she greeted each guest. Emma ran up and hugged her. "I'm so sorry I missed last time. I made you a friendship bracelet." Another classmate, Jackson, handed her a bag of candy. "Everyone deserves birthday candy," he said solemnly. Mia laughed, clutching the bracelet and candy to her chest. "Thank you." The living room buzzed with energy. The face painter transformed kids into glittery butterflies and brave knights. The treasure hunt Kayla had organized was a huge hit, with squeals of excitement as the children uncovered hidden clues leading to small prizes. The new cake, a 5-tier masterpiece shaped like a glowing castle with LED lights, drew applause when I carried it in. Mia gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. "It's even more magical than the first one." We sang happy birthday, and this time the sound was deafening. Mia's cheeks flushed as she blew out the candles, her eyes shining with happiness, but the moment that truly undid me came later, during the gift opening. After unwrapping dolls, books, and art supplies, Ms. Lane stepped forward with a flat-wrapped package. "This is from all of us in class," she said. Every student contributed. Mia carefully tore off the paper to reveal a scrapbook. Inside were handwritten notes and drawings from every child. Messages like, "You're a great friend," and "Happy birthday, Princess Mia." The final page was a collage of photos printed during the party itself. Smiling faces, games, laughter. "So you'll always remember how loved you are," Ms. Lane said softly. Tears filled my eyes. Mia hugged the scrapbook to her chest, radiant. "This is the best present ever." When the party wound down, parents lingered to help clean up. Olivia and Kayla clinked plastic cups with me in a mock toast. "Mission accomplished," Olivia said as I glanced across the room. I saw my father watching Mia with a tender smile. My mother stood beside him, subdued, but she approached me quietly. "You did a wonderful job," she said. "Mia looks so happy." I nodded, accepting the words as the olive branch they were. "That's all that matters." My father added, "You've raised an incredible little girl, Scarlett." Pride swelled in my chest. "Yes, I have." For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the forgotten daughter, the overlooked sibling. I felt like the strong mother Mia needed me to be, and the woman I was always meant to become. That night, after everyone left and Mia was tucked into bed, I sat alone in the quiet living room. The scrapbook lay open on the coffee table, a vivid reminder of the love surrounding us. I thought about the confrontation at the resort, about Chloe's hollow apology, about my parents' shifting loyalties. Things weren't magically fixed. Old wounds still throbbed. Trust would take time to rebuild if it ever did. But I realized something important. Mia and I didn't need perfect family members. We needed people who showed up. People who celebrated her joy and stood beside her in her pain. People like Olivia, Kayla, Ms. Lane, and the classmates who filled our home with laughter today. That was family. And as I turned out the lights, I whispered a silent promise. Mia's future birthdays would never again be defined by tears, only by love. A month passed after Mia's do-over birthday, yet the echoes of that day still lingered in our home like soft music. The scrapbook her classmates made sat proudly on our coffee table. Mia flipped through it almost every evening, running her fingers over the colorful drawings and kind words. Sometimes she giggled at the silly doodles. Other times she would sigh happily and whisper, "I really do have great friends." Every time I heard that, my heart healed a little more. But alongside the joy, there was still work to do. The confrontation at the resort had cracked open decades of family dysfunction, and the dust hadn't fully settled. My father, Thomas Rivers, became more present than I ever could have imagined. He started calling Mia every week, sending postcards with silly jokes or riddles scrawled in his careful handwriting. Twice he had taken her on what they called grandpa adventures. One to the science museum, another to the botanical gardens. Mia returned glowing each time, her arms full of brochures and her head full of stories. Why Mother Elaine was slower to change. Old habits don't die easily, and every now and then she slipped into her reflexive role of defending Chloe. But after years of silence, I finally had the courage to call her out. "Mom, I'm not doing this anymore," I told her once when she tried to minimize Chloe's sabotage. You can either acknowledge the truth, or you can watch from the sidelines while Mia and I move forward without you." To her credit, she swallowed hard and said, "You're right. I don't want to lose either of you." It wasn't a full transformation, but it was a start. And Chloe avoided me for weeks after the resort confrontation. When she finally reached out, it was through a text message that read, "I'm sorry if my joke went too far. I didn't mean to upset Mia. Hope we can move past this." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it without replying. 2 weeks later, she tried again. This time she called. "Scarlett," she said, her voice quieter than I'd ever heard it. "I know what I did was wrong. I've been thinking a lot about why I did it, and I don't like what I see in myself. I was jealous. I wanted attention. And I hurt Mia because of it. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But I am sorry. Truly." The words sounded genuine, but I'd learned too much to take them at face value. "Chloe," I said evenly, "thank you for saying that. But I can't let you near Mia right now. Until you show, not just say, that you've changed, you're not part of her life. That's non-negotiable." There was silence on the line, then a soft, "I understand." For the first time, I wondered if she really did. Meanwhile, Mia seemed to grow stronger every day. I arranged for her to see a child therapist, Dr. Sophia Nguyen, who specialized in family dynamics. After a few sessions, Mia came home one afternoon and announced proudly, "Dr. Nguyen says I don't have to let Aunt Chloe's choices make me afraid of parties. It's okay to feel sad, but it doesn't have to stop me from trusting my friends." I hugged her tightly, awed by her resilience. Children have a way of seeing truth with a clarity adults often lose. We also started new traditions together. Every Tuesday became Truth Tuesday, where we could talk openly about anything on our minds, no matter how small or scary. We started a gratitude journal, where we each wrote one thing we were thankful for every night. One evening, Mia scribbled, "I'm thankful my mom always stands up for me." I cried quietly after she went to bed. As the weeks rolled on, I realized something profound. Family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by behavior. Olivia and Kayla, my loyal friends, had shown up for Mia in ways my own sister never had. Ms. Lane had gone above and beyond, making sure Mia felt celebrated and included. Even the parents of Mia's classmates had rallied around her, horrified by what she'd endured and determined to make it right. Those were the people who showed up, who made her feel loved, who mattered. And that, I decided, was what family really meant. One Sunday morning, as Mia and I shared cereal at the kitchen table, she looked up suddenly with a thoughtful expression. "Mom," she said, "I think I learned something from my birthday." My spoon paused halfway to my mouth. "What's that, sweetheart?" She stirred her cereal, thinking carefully. "I learned you have to be careful who you trust. But you can't stop trusting everybody just because one person hurts you. And I learned that when bad things happen, they don't have to stay bad forever. You can make new good things instead." I stared at her, my eyes stinging. "Mia Hayes," I said softly, "that's one of the wisest things I've ever heard." She grinned, proud of herself, then went back to crunching cereal like she hadn't just spoken the purest truth. That night, as I tucked her into bed, I whispered, "You're my dream team, kiddo." She smiled sleepily. "You and me, Mom. Always. Always," I promised as I turned off the light. I realized I no longer felt crushed by Chloe's betrayal. Yes, it had been painful. Yes, it had exposed years of favoritism and dysfunction. But it had also given me something unexpected. Clarity. I knew where I stood now. I knew who I could count on. And I knew that Mia and I were stronger than I had ever given us credit for. Sometimes betrayal is the fire that forges us into something tougher. Sometimes loss clears the path for better things to grow. Mia's 9th birthday began as the worst day of her young life. But in the end, it became the turning point for both of us. The moment we stopped trying to force a broken family to be what it could never be, and started building the one we truly deserved. And as I lay in bed that night, listening to the steady rhythm of Mia's breathing down the hall, I knew one thing for certain. Blood may tie you together, but love, the kind that shows up, the kind that stands strong, the kind that refuses to abandon you, love is what makes a family. And Mia and I? We had all the love we needed. Thank you for following this story till the end. If you found this an emotional journey of betrayal, justice, and inner strength, please help RevengeAmy reach its first 1,000 subscribers. Just a like and subscribe. Your support will be a great motivation for us to continue bringing more inspiring stories. Click subscribe today and be a part of this journey. See you in the next stories.